The rain fell like bullets against the concrete, each drop exploding into 1,000 smaller pieces that soaked through Nathan's expensive suit. He stood there, shivering and defeated, staring at the sleek glass doors of his luxury apartment building that might as well have been prison bars. His keycard lay somewhere in the back of a taxi that had disappeared into the storm 20 minutes ago, along with his wallet, his phone, and apparently his dignity. Thunder rolled across the sky like an angry god's laughter. Nathan pressed his forehead against the cold glass, watching the security guard inside shake his head for the third time. Without identification, without his phone to call his assistant, without any way to prove he lived in the penthouse suite, he was just another wet stranger in the night. "Sir, I told you already," the guard called through the intercom, his voice crackling with static and annoyance. "I can't let you in without proper identification. Building policy." Nathan's legs felt weak. He hadn't eaten since breakfast, had been in back-to-back meetings for 12 hours, and now the storm seemed determined to wash away what little strength he had left. The irony wasn't lost on him. Nathan Cross, CEO of Cross Industries, worth more than most small countries, couldn't even get into his own home. A sharp pain shot through his chest as he stumbled backward from the door. The stress, the exhaustion, the hunger, it all crashed down on him at once. His knees buckled, and he felt himself falling toward the unforgiving sidewalk. "Oh my goodness. Sir, are you okay?" Gentle hands caught him before he hit the ground. Nathan looked up through the rain into the most beautiful brown eyes he'd ever seen. A young black woman knelt beside him, her own clothes getting soaked as she supported his weight. Her security uniform clung to her slender frame, and her name tag read Kendra. "I'm fine," Nathan tried to say, but the words came out as barely a whisper. "No, you're not fine. You're soaked and you look ready to collapse." Kendra's voice was warm and concerned, cutting through the storm like a lighthouse beam. "When's the last time you ate something?" Nathan tried to remember but couldn't focus past the spinning in his head. This morning maybe? That's what I thought." Without hesitation, Kendra helped him to his feet. "My shift just ended. My apartment's right across the street. Come on, let's get you dried off and fed." "I couldn't possibly." Nathan started, but Kendra was already guiding him away from the building that had rejected him. "Don't be stubborn. Nobody should be out in weather like this." She looked back at the security guard through the glass doors. "Some people forget what it means to help others." As they crossed the street, Nathan noticed everything about his savior. The way she moved with purpose despite her small frame. How she kept one arm around his waist to steady him, never once complaining about the rain ruining her uniform. The determination in her voice when she spoke about helping him. "I'm Nathan," he managed as they reached the entrance to her building. "Nice to meet you, Nathan. I'm Kendra, but most folks call me Kenna." She fumbled with her keys, trying to shield him from the worst of the rain. "Fair warning, my place isn't much, but it's warm and dry." The building was older, with worn carpet in the hallways and paint that had seen better days. But when Kendra opened the door to apartment 2B, Nathan felt something he hadn't experienced in years: genuine warmth that had nothing to do with temperature. "Mama, you're home." A small boy, maybe 6 years old, came running from the living room where cartoons played softly on an old television. "Hey baby." Kendra kissed the top of his head, then gestured to Nathan. "This is Mr. Nathan. He got caught in the storm, so he's going to stay here tonight until the weather clears up. Can you say hello?" The boy looked up at Nathan with curious eyes. "Hi, Mr. Nathan. I'm Tyler. Are you okay? You look really wet." Nathan managed a smile despite his exhaustion. "I'm better now, thanks to your mom." "Tyler, honey, can you get Mr. Nathan a towel from the bathroom? And maybe grab one of those clean shirts from the laundry basket, the big ones that shrunk in the wash." As Tyler ran off on his mission, Kendra guided Nathan to the small but tidy living room. "Sit down before you fall down," she said gently. "I'll make you something hot to drink." "You don't have to do all this," Nathan protested weakly. "I'm a complete stranger." Kendra paused in the doorway to the kitchen, turning back with a smile that could have powered the whole building. "My grandmother always said that strangers are just friends you haven't met yet. Besides, what kind of person would I be if I left someone out in a storm like that?" Nathan sank into the well-worn couch, feeling more grateful than he had words for. Around him, he could see the signs of a life lived carefully, everything clean and organized despite being secondhand. Children's books stacked neatly on a shelf. A small dining table with homework papers arranged in careful piles. Photos of Kendra and Tyler at various ages, always smiling despite what looked like tight finances. "Here, Mr. Nathan." Tyler returned with a fluffy towel and a large t-shirt. Mama says this shirt got too big in the wash, but it looks like it might fit you good. Thank you, Tyler. You're very kind, just like your mother. From the kitchen came the sounds of Kendra working the microwave humming, the gentle clink of dishes. The smell of something warm and comforting began to fill the apartment. I hope chicken soup is okay, she called out. It's nothing fancy, just from a can, but it'll warm you up. Nathan closed his eyes, overwhelmed by the simple kindness of this woman who owed him nothing but was giving him everything she had. He'd grown up in a world where every gesture came with conditions, where help always had a price. But here was Kendra, opening her home to a stranger simply because it was the right thing to do. When she returned with a steaming bowl and sat beside him on the couch, Nathan realized that getting locked out in the rain might have been the best thing that ever happened to him. Nathan woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of quiet conversation from the kitchen. For a moment he forgot where he was. The couch beneath him was soft but clearly old, and sunlight streamed through thin curtains onto walls decorated with Tyler's artwork and family photos. Then it all came back: the storm, getting locked out, and Kendra's incredible kindness. Good morning, sleepyhead. Kendra's voice was warm and cheerful as she appeared in the doorway. She wore a different uniform now, the navy blue of a diner waitress. I was wondering when you'd wake up. It's almost 8 o'clock. Nathan sat up quickly, running a hand through his disheveled hair. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to oversleep. You must have things to do. Actually, I do. Kendra moved to the kitchen, and Nathan could hear her packing something. I have to be at work in 30 minutes, but I made extra coffee and there's breakfast on the table if you're hungry. Nathan followed her voice, finding Tyler at the small dining table eating cereal while working on what looked like math homework. The boy looked up and grinned. Morning, Mr. Nathan. Mama made pancakes. They're really good. She put chocolate chips in them just for you. On the table sat a plate of golden pancakes, perfectly round and still warm. Beside them was a cup of coffee and a mug that read "World's Best Mom" in faded letters. Kendra, you didn't have to make me breakfast. Nathan was genuinely touched. You've already done so much. It's nothing special, she said, but Nathan could see the pleased smile she tried to hide. I always make too much anyway. Tyler, honey, finish your math so we can drop you at Mrs. Johnson's before I go to work. Nathan took a bite of the pancakes and nearly groaned with pleasure. They were better than anything he'd eaten at 5-star restaurants. These are incredible. Mama's the best cook in the whole world, Tyler announced proudly. Tyler's a little biased, Kendra laughed, checking her watch. Oh, I need to get moving. Nathan, there's more coffee in the pot and feel free to use the shower if you want. Clean towels are in the bathroom closet. She was gathering her purse and Tyler's backpack with practiced efficiency, but Nathan could see the tiredness around her eyes. He wondered when she'd last had a full night's sleep. Where do you work? He asked. Rosie's Diner on 5th Street. I work the morning shift there, then I have a few hours before my evening job at the office building downtown. She paused, looking slightly embarrassed. The security job you saw me leaving last night? 2 jobs. Nathan's respect for her grew even more. 3 actually. I clean offices on weekends. Kendra's voice was matter-of-fact, without any self-pity. Tyler's got big dreams, wants to be a doctor someday. Good education costs money. Tyler beamed at his mother's words, and Nathan could see the love and determination in both their faces. Mama works super hard, Tyler said seriously. But she always makes time to help with my homework and read me stories. That's because you're the most important thing in my world, Kendra said, kissing the top of Tyler's head. Okay baby, let's go. Say goodbye to Mr. Nathan. Bye Mr. Nathan. I hope I see you again soon. Tyler gave Nathan an enthusiastic hug that surprised them both. After they left, Nathan sat alone in the quiet apartment, overwhelmed by what he'd witnessed. Here was a woman working 3 jobs to support her son's dreams, yet she brought home a stranger and shared what little she had without a second thought. He looked around the apartment with new eyes. Everything was spotless despite being worn. Tyler's school pictures were displayed proudly on the refrigerator alongside perfect attendance certificates and good grades. A jar on the counter was labeled Tyler's College Fund, in Kendra's careful handwriting. Nathan opened the jar and saw maybe $40 in small bills and coins. His chest tightened as he thought about his own penthouse across the street worth more than most people made in a lifetime. He had walk-in closets bigger than this entire apartment, yet he'd never felt the kind of warmth here that filled every corner of Kendra's home. The shower water pressure was weak and the towels were thin, but Nathan didn't care. He'd stayed in luxury hotels around the world, but none of them had made him feel as cared for as he had on Kendra's couch. When he came out, he noticed that Kendra had left a note on the kitchen table. Nathan, help yourself to anything in the fridge. Spare key is under the flower pot if you need to step out. Back around 6 p.m. She was trusting him, a complete stranger, with her home and everything she owned. The gesture moved him more than he could express. Nathan spent the morning calling his assistant from the diner's payphone, arranging for new cards and identification. But as the day wore on, he found himself in no hurry to leave. Instead, he walked through Kendra's neighborhood, seeing it through new eyes. The corner market where she probably shopped had prices that made him wince. The bus stop where Tyler likely waited each morning was missing a bench and had no shelter from weather. The elementary school was older, with playground equipment that had seen better days. But he also saw the community neighbors helping neighbors, kids playing safely in the streets, people who looked out for each other. It was something his wealthy neighborhood completely lacked. When Kendra returned that evening, she found Nathan in the kitchen with grocery bags covering the counter. "Nathan, what's all this?" "I noticed you were low on a few things," he said, suddenly nervous about her reaction. "I hope that's okay. I just wanted to contribute something after everything you've done for me." Kendra's eyes filled with tears as she looked at the groceries, not just basic necessities, but treats like ice cream and fresh fruit that were usually luxuries in their household. "You didn't have to do this," she whispered. "I wanted to. It's the least I could do." Nathan watched her carefully. "Are you okay? Did I overstep?" "No, it's just..." Kendra wiped her eyes and smiled. "It's been a long time since anyone took care of me. I'm not used to it." "Well, you better get used to it," Nathan said softly. "Because I plan to stick around for a while if that's okay with you." "Mama." "Mr. Nathan." Tyler burst through the door, dropping his backpack and running to hug both adults. "Guess what? I got 100 on my spelling test." "That's wonderful, baby." Kendra hugged him tight. "And look, Mr. Nathan bought ice cream." Tyler had already spotted the groceries. As they sat around the small table eating ice cream for dinner, a rule Nathan learned Kendra never allowed but Tyler had begged for, Nathan realized he'd never been happier. This little family had given him something all his wealth couldn't buy, a sense of belonging. He was falling for both of them, and for the first time in his life, Nathan Cross was exactly where he wanted to be. Nathan woke before dawn on his third morning in Kendra's apartment, the sound of her quiet movements in the kitchen pulling him from the most peaceful sleep he'd had in years. Through the thin walls, he could hear her preparing for another long day of work, and his heart ached at the thought of her exhaustion. "Good morning," he whispered as he joined her in the kitchen, not wanting to wake Tyler. Kendra looked up from packing her lunch, a simple sandwich and an apple, and smiled. Even tired, she was radiant. "Morning. You're up early. I wanted to catch you before you left." Nathan poured himself coffee from the pot she'd made. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." She continued her morning routine, efficient and practiced. "Why did you help me that night?" "Really? You could have walked right past." Kendra paused, considering her answer. "My grandmother raised me after my parents died. She worked as a housekeeper for wealthy families her whole life. She used to tell me stories about the people she worked for, how some treated her like furniture, invisible. But others saw her as a person, asked about her day, remembered her birthday." She moved to the window, looking out at the city awakening. "She said kindness doesn't cost anything, but it's worth everything. When I saw you that night, I didn't see a stranger. I saw someone who needed help." Nathan set down his coffee cup, moved by her words. "Your grandmother sounds like an amazing woman." "She was. She died when Tyler was 2, but I try to live the way she taught me." Kendra glanced at the clock. "I should get going." "Before you do," Nathan reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card holder, a small luxury he'd managed to recover yesterday. "I think it's time I was completely honest with you." Kendra took the card, her eyes widening as she read it. "Nathan Cross, Chief Executive Officer, Cross Industries." She looked up at him, confusion clear in her expression. "Cross Industries? The company that owns half the buildings downtown?" "Among other things, yes." Nathan watched her carefully, unsure how she'd react to learning she'd been hosting one of the city's wealthiest men. "But, you said you were locked out of your apartment." I live in the penthouse of the building across the street. Lost my wallet and keycard in a taxi during the storm." He gestured toward the window where his building was visible. "The security guard wouldn't let me in without ID." Kendra stared at the card, then at Nathan, then back at the card. "You're a billionaire." "Technically, yes. And you've been sleeping on my couch." "The most comfortable couch I've ever slept on, by the way." A laugh bubbled up from Kendra's chest, surprising them both. "I made a billionaire eat pancakes from a box mix. The best pancakes I've ever had," Nathan said seriously. Kendra shook her head in disbelief. Why didn't you tell me sooner? At first I was too tired and grateful to think straight. Then I realized something. Nathan moved closer to her. For the first time in my adult life, someone was being kind to me without wanting anything in return. Do you know how rare that is in my world? Kendra's expression softened. So you've been lying to me? Not lying. Just not telling the whole truth. Nathan ran a hand through his hair. I was afraid that if you knew who I was, everything would change. You'd start treating me differently. How would I treat you differently? People always want something when they find out who I am. Money, jobs, investments, donations. I've learned not to trust easily. He looked directly into her eyes. But you fed me, clothed me, gave me a place to sleep, and asked for nothing. I didn't want to lose that. Kendra was quiet for a long moment, processing this information. So what happens now? Do you go back to your penthouse and forget about the poor single mother who helped you? The hurt in her voice made Nathan's chest tight. Is that what you think I'd do? I don't know what to think. My world and your world are pretty different, Nathan. You're right, they are different. Your world has real kindness in it, real love, real connection. Nathan stepped closer. I don't want to go back to my world, Kendra. I want to stay in yours. Mama? Tyler's sleepy voice interrupted them. He appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes. Why are you talking so quiet? Just having a grown-up conversation, baby. Go get dressed for school. Kendra's voice was gentle despite the tension in the room. Okay. Morning, Mr. Nathan. Tyler waved and disappeared back down the hall. Nathan and Kendra stood in awkward silence until she picked up her purse. I need to think about this. It's a lot to process. Of course. Take all the time you need. Nathan wanted to reach for her but held back. Can I ask one favor? What? Let me drive Tyler to school today. And maybe pick him up this afternoon? Kendra hesitated. Nathan, you don't understand. Tyler gets attached easily. If you're going to disappear back to your billionaire life, I can't let him get too close. I'm not going anywhere, Kendra. I promise. She studied his face, searching for something she could trust. Finally she nodded. Okay. But we take the bus like always. I don't want Tyler getting used to things I can't provide. The bus it is. As they waited at the bus stop with Tyler chattering excitedly between them, Nathan realized that Kendra's concern wasn't about the money, it was about protecting her son's heart. The depth of her love for Tyler, her fierce protectiveness, only made Nathan admire her more. On the bus, Tyler pressed his face to the window and pointed at Nathan's building. Mama, look how tall that building is. I bet the people who live up there can see the whole city. Kendra glanced at Nathan, who gave her a small smile. I bet they can, baby. When they reached Tyler's school, Nathan watched Kendra kneel down to hug her son goodbye, straightening his collar and reminding him to listen to his teacher. The other parents hurrying past seemed stressed and distracted, but Kendra gave Tyler her complete attention, making him feel like the most important person in the world. I love you to the moon and back, she told him. And I love you to the stars and back. Tyler replied, their obvious daily ritual. As Tyler ran toward the school building, he turned back and waved. Bye, Mr. Nathan. See you after school. Nathan waved back, feeling a warmth in his chest he'd never experienced before. This little boy had accepted him so easily, with such pure trust and affection. He likes you, Kendra said as they walked back toward the bus stop. I like him too. Both of you. Kendra stopped walking and turned to face him. Nathan, I need you to be honest with me about something. Anything. What do you really want from us? And don't say nothing, because rich men don't usually spend 3 days in a place like this unless they want something. Nathan looked into her eyes, knowing this moment would determine everything that came next. I want to be part of your lives. I want to help Tyler with his homework and hear about his day. I want to make sure you don't have to work 3 jobs just to survive. I want to fall asleep knowing you're both safe and happy. And what do we give you in return? You give me a home, Nathan said simply. You give me a family. You give me a reason to be better than I've ever been before. Kendra's eyes filled with tears and Nathan held his breath, waiting for her answer. 2 weeks had passed since Nathan's revelation, and he found himself settling into a routine that felt more natural than anything in his previous life. Each morning he'd wake to the sound of Kendra preparing breakfast, and each evening he'd help Tyler with homework while she cooked dinner on the small stove. Today, Nathan noticed Kendra struggling with a leaky faucet that had been dripping since he'd arrived. Let me take a look at that, he offered, rolling up his sleeves. You know how to fix faucets? Kendra asked, surprised. Nathan grinned. I wasn't always a CEO. I worked construction summers during college. He knelt down and opened the cabinet under the sink. My father believed in learning things from the ground up. Your father sounds smart. He was. He started Cross Industries with nothing but determination and calloused hands. Nathan's voice grew soft with memory. He used to say that understanding every part of a business from the foundation up made you a better leader. As Nathan worked, Tyler sat at the kitchen table watching with fascination. Mr. Nathan, are you really super rich? Tyler. Kendra scolded gently. That's not polite to ask. It's okay, Nathan said, adjusting a pipe fitting. Yes, Tyler, I have a lot of money. But you know what? What? Having money doesn't make you happy. Having people you care about makes you happy. He looked at Kendra, then back at Tyler. Your mom is the richest person I know. But she's always worried about bills, Tyler said with the brutal honesty of childhood. Kendra's cheeks flushed. Tyler, honey? He's not wrong, Nathan said gently, standing up and testing the faucet. Perfect, no more dripping. And that's exactly why I want to help. Nathan, we've talked about this. Kendra's voice carried a familiar note of independence. I appreciate everything you've already done, but I can't accept charity. It's not charity. It's family helping family. Nathan dried his hands on a dish towel. When someone you care about is struggling, you help them. That's what people who love each other do. The word, love, hung in the air between them, and Nathan realized he'd said it without thinking. But looking at Kendra's face, he didn't regret it. Besides, he continued, trying to lighten the moment, I'm learning more here than I ever did in my penthouse. Like how to make pancakes from scratch and why cartoon characters are so important to 6-year-olds. Hey, I'm almost 7. Tyler protested. My mistake. 7-year-olds are much more sophisticated about cartoons. Tyler giggled and Kendra shook her head with a smile. You two are trouble together. The best kind of trouble, Nathan agreed. That afternoon, while Kendra was at work and Tyler was at school, Nathan found himself at the local grocery store, carefully studying prices and comparing brands the way he'd seen Kendra do. He'd never paid attention to the cost of milk or bread before, but now he understood why she clipped coupons and bought generic brands. He was loading his cart with essentials when he ran into Mrs. Patterson, Kendra's elderly neighbor. You must be Nathan, she said with a knowing smile. Kendra's told me about you. All good things, I hope. Oh, honey, that girl doesn't know how to speak badly of anyone. But I can tell you've made quite an impression. Mrs. Patterson leaned closer conspiratorially. She's been smiling more lately. Haven't seen her this happy since Tyler was born. Nathan felt warmth spread through his chest. She makes me happy too. Good. She deserves someone who sees her worth. That girl works herself to the bone for that boy. I know. I'm trying to help with that. Mrs. Patterson studied him shrewdly. You seem like good people, Nathan. Don't prove me wrong. I'll do my best not to. When Nathan returned to the apartment, he found an envelope slipped under the door, a bill marked "Final Notice" in angry red letters. His heart sank as he realized Kendra's electric bill was overdue. He was still staring at the envelope when she came home from work, exhausted from her shift at the diner. Hey, she said, dropping her purse by the door. How was your day? Nathan held up the envelope. This was under your door. Kendra's face went pale. She took the bill with shaking hands, and Nathan watched her shoulders slump as she read it. I thought I had until next Friday, she whispered. If they shut off the power? They won't, Nathan said firmly. Nathan, no. I can't let you pay my bills. You're not letting me do anything. I'm choosing to do this. He gently took the bill from her hands. Kendra, I make more money in an hour than this bill costs. Please let me help. Tears filled her eyes. I hate feeling helpless. You're not helpless. You're the strongest person I know. Nathan cupped her face in his hands. You've been carrying everything alone for so long. You don't have to anymore. What if you change your mind? What if you decide this life is too complicated and you want to go back to your penthouse? Look at me, Nathan said softly. When she met his eyes, he continued, I spent 35 years living in that penthouse and I was miserable. I've spent 3 weeks here with you and Tyler and I've never been happier. This isn't complicated, Kendra. This is the simplest thing in the world. What is? I love you. I love Tyler. I want to take care of both of you, not because you need it, but because it makes me feel like I have a purpose beyond just making money. Kendra was quiet for a long moment, tears streaming down her cheeks. Finally she nodded. Okay. But I want to pay you back someday. The only payment I want is the chance to come home to you and Tyler every day. Mama. Mr. Nathan. Tyler burst through the door, his face bright with excitement. Guess what happened at school today? What, baby? Kendra quickly wiped her tears, not wanting Tyler to worry. My teacher said we're having a science fair and I can do any project I want. Can you help me, Mr. Nathan? Please? Nathan looked at Tyler's eager face, then at Kendra's grateful smile, and felt his heart overflow with love for this little family that had saved him in every way that mattered. Of course I'll help you, he said, lifting Tyler into his arms. What kind of project were you thinking about? As Tyler chattered excitedly about volcanoes and robots, Nathan caught Kendra watching them with an expression of pure love. In that moment he knew he'd found his real home. It wasn't a penthouse in the sky. It was right here in a small apartment filled with laughter, love, and the promise of tomorrow. Nathan had been living with Kendra and Tyler for a month when he realized he'd completely forgotten about his penthouse across the street. His assistant had been calling the diner where Kendra worked, leaving increasingly frantic messages about board meetings and important decisions, but Nathan found himself caring less about cross industries and more about Tyler's upcoming science fair. Okay, so if we mix the baking soda and vinegar? Tyler said seriously, measuring ingredients for their volcano project. It's going to explode. Nathan warned dramatically, making Tyler giggle. Not explode, Mr. Nathan. It's a chemical reaction that creates carbon dioxide gas, which makes it foam up like lava. Someone's been studying, Kendra said from the kitchen where she was preparing dinner after her shift at the diner. Even exhausted from work, she looked beautiful in the warm light filtering through their small windows. Mr. Nathan's teaching me about science. Did you know he studied engineering before he became a businessman? I did not know that, Kendra said, shooting Nathan a curious look. There's still a lot you don't know about me, Nathan said softly, their eyes meeting across the room. I'm learning new things every day, she replied, and the warmth in her voice made Nathan's chest tight with emotion. Tyler carefully poured the vinegar into their homemade volcano, and all three of them watched in delight as it foamed and bubbled over the sides. That's so cool. Tyler clapped his hands. We're definitely going to win the science fair. Win or not, I'm proud of you for working so hard on this, Kendra said, kissing the top of Tyler's head. Mr. Nathan helped a lot too. He's really smart, Mama. I know he is, baby. After Tyler went to bed, Nathan and Kendra sat together on the couch, her head resting on his shoulder as they watched an old movie on her small television. It was a simple moment, but Nathan had never felt more content. Can I ask you something? Kendra said softly. Always. Don't you miss your old life? The excitement, the power, all that money? Nathan was quiet for a moment, thinking. Do you know what my typical day used to look like? Tell me. I'd wake up alone in a penthouse that felt more like a museum than a home. My housekeeper would have left breakfast in the kitchen, expensive food that tasted like nothing. I'd spend 12 to 14 hours in meetings with people who smiled at me but only because I signed their paychecks. Nathan's arm tightened around Kendra. Then I'd come home to an empty apartment, eat dinner alone while reviewing reports, and fall asleep wondering why I felt so hollow despite having everything the world says should make me happy. That sounds lonely. It was. I had everything except the only things that actually matter: love, connection, purpose beyond just making money. He tilted her chin up so he could see her eyes. You and Tyler gave me all of that. Kendra's eyes were soft with understanding. But your company needs you. You can't just abandon all those people who work for you. I'm not abandoning them. I'm learning to delegate better, to trust the team I've built. Nathan smiled. Turns out the company runs just fine without me micromanaging every decision. Maybe better, actually. And you're okay with that? More than okay. For the first time in my life, I have work-life balance. I have a life worth living. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the movie flicker across the screen. Nathan found himself memorizing everything about this moment: the way Kendra's hair smelled like vanilla shampoo, the soft sound of her breathing, the feeling of complete peace that had settled over him. Nathan. Kendra's voice was barely a whisper. I think I'm falling in love with you. Nathan's heart stopped, then started beating so hard he was sure she could hear it. He shifted so he could look at her properly, seeing the vulnerability in her beautiful eyes. Just falling? He asked softly. A shy smile crossed her face. Okay, maybe I've already fallen. Good, Nathan said, cupping her face in his hands. Because I've been completely gone for you since the night you saved me in the rain. When he kissed her, it was soft and sweet and full of all the promises he wanted to make. This was nothing like the shallow relationships he'd had before. This was real, built on friendship and respect and genuine care for each other. "I love you, Kendra Washington," he whispered against her lips. "I love you too, Nathan Cross." The next morning, Nathan woke to the sound of Tyler getting ready for school and Kendra humming in the kitchen. He lay on the couch for a moment, listening to the sounds of his new family starting their day, and smiled. "Morning, Mr. Nathan." Tyler bounced into the living room, already dressed for school. "Mama made your favorite pancakes." "She did." Nathan sat up, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "The ones with chocolate chips. She only makes those on special days." Nathan looked toward the kitchen where Kendra stood at the stove, her cheeks pink. "Is today a special day?" "Every day's special now," she said simply, and Nathan felt his heart melt all over again. Over breakfast, Tyler chattered excitedly about the science fair, which was scheduled for the following week. "All the parents are invited," Tyler said, looking hopefully between Nathan and Kendra. "Mr. Nathan, will you come? Please? You helped make the volcano." Nathan glanced at Kendra, unsure. They hadn't really talked about him taking on a parental role in Tyler's life, despite how natural it felt. "Of course he'll come," Kendra said warmly. "If he wants to." "I wouldn't miss it for the world," Nathan promised, and Tyler beamed. After they dropped Tyler at school, Nathan and Kendra walked through the neighborhood together. It was a routine they developed a few quiet minutes before she had to rush to work. "Thank you," Nathan said as they paused at the bus stop. "For what?" "For letting me be part of Tyler's big day. I know it's complicated me being here." Kendra took his hand, lacing their fingers together. "It's not complicated, Nathan. Tyler loves you. You're already part of our family, we're just making it official." "Official?" "Well, not official," Kendra said quickly, her cheeks turning red. "I just met." Nathan laughed, pulling her closer. "I know what you meant. And I love the sound of it." When Kendra's bus arrived, Nathan kissed her goodbye and watched her disappear into the morning crowd. Then he walked back toward the apartment, already planning how he could surprise them both. He spent the day making phone calls not about business for once, but about Tyler's school. He learned about their fundraising needs, their outdated computer lab, their struggling library. He also called his assistant and asked her to research the best educational opportunities in the city. That evening, as they ate dinner together at the small table, Nathan watched Tyler struggle with his math homework. "This is hard, Mr. Nathan. I don't understand fractions." "Here, let me help." Nathan sat beside Tyler, patiently explaining how to break down the problems into smaller parts. "You're really good at teaching," Kendra observed from the kitchen. "I like helping him learn. He's so curious about everything." "Just like his mama was at that age," Kendra said with a smile. "I used to drive my grandmother crazy with all my questions." "What did you want to be when you grew up?" Nathan asked. "A teacher, actually. I loved school, loved learning. But after Tyler was born." She shrugged, not needing to finish the sentence. Nathan filed that information away, another piece of the puzzle of this amazing woman he'd fallen in love with. "I got it," Tyler announced suddenly. "Mr. Nathan, I understand fractions now. See? I told you were smart enough to figure it out. Will you help me with my homework every day?" Tyler asked hopefully. "As long as your mom doesn't mind, I'd love to. Mama never minds when people want to help me learn stuff." That night, after Tyler was asleep and Kendra was getting ready for bed, Nathan made a decision that would change everything. "Kendra?" "Yeah." She appeared in the doorway of the tiny bathroom, toothbrush in hand. "I want to tell you something, and I want you to hear me out completely before you say no." She set down her toothbrush, suddenly serious. "What is it?" "I want to set up college funds for Tyler. Full ride to whatever school he wants to attend, plus graduate school if he chooses." "Nathan, let me finish, please. I also want to pay off your student loans, and I want to help you go back to school if that's what you want. You mentioned wanting to be a teacher." Kendra's eyes filled with tears. "That's too much. I can't accept that." "Yes, you can. Because it's not just about money, Kendra. It's about removing the barriers that keep you from achieving your dreams. You're brilliant and compassionate, and you'd be an incredible teacher. Tyler deserves every opportunity in the world. But what do people think? What does your family think about you being with someone like me?" Nathan moved to her, taking her hands in his. "Someone like you? You mean someone kind and loving and strong? Someone who raised an amazing little boy mostly on her own? Someone who works 3 jobs and still makes time to help a stranger? You know what I mean, Nathan. I'm not from your world." "You're right. You're from a much better world. A world where people help each other just because it's the right thing to do. A world where love matters more than money. Kendra was crying now, and Nathan gently wiped her tears away. I don't have any family left to disapprove, he continued softly. But even if I did, I wouldn't care. You and Tyler are my family now. You're my everything. Are you sure about this? Really sure? Because once Tyler gets attached to the idea of you being here forever. I'm not going anywhere, Kendra. I promise you that. This isn't some rich guy fantasy for me. This is my real life, and it's the best life I've ever had. She studied his face in the dim light, searching for any sign of doubt. Finding none, she finally nodded. Okay. But I have conditions. Name them. I want to contribute something to Tyler's education fund, even if it's small. And I want to work for any money you spend on my education. I can clean your offices or help with your business somehow. Nathan started to protest, but Kendra held up her hand. Those are my terms, Nathan. I need to feel like I'm earning this, not just taking charity. Deal? Nathan agreed because he understood her need for dignity and independence. But I get to set the terms of your work. What kind of terms? Nathan smiled. You have to let me help with Tyler's homework every night. You have to watch movies with me after he goes to bed. And you have to keep being exactly who you are, because that's the person I fell in love with. Kendra laughed through her tears. Those are pretty easy terms. The best deals usually are. As they held each other in the small hallway of the apartment that had become his sanctuary, Nathan knew he'd finally found his purpose. It wasn't building a business empire or accumulating wealth, it was loving this woman and helping raise her son, creating the family he'd never known he wanted. For the first time in his life, Nathan Cross was exactly where he belonged. The morning of Tyler's science fair dawned bright and clear, and Nathan woke to find both Kendra and Tyler bustling around the apartment with nervous energy. Mr. Nathan, what if our volcano doesn't work? Tyler asked for the 5th time while Kendra helped him get dressed in his best shirt. It'll work perfectly, buddy. We tested it 3 times, remember? But what if the other projects are better? What if the judges don't like it? Nathan knelt down to Tyler's level, straightening the boy's collar. Tyler, win or lose, I'm proud of you. Your mom is proud of you. You worked hard and learned a lot, and that's what really matters. Really? Really? Besides, our volcano is pretty awesome. Tyler grinned, his confidence restored. It is pretty awesome. They arrived at the school early to set up Tyler's display. Nathan carried their carefully constructed volcano while Kendra managed the poster board Tyler had decorated with facts about real volcanoes and the science behind their experiment. Wow, Tyler, this looks great. Mrs. Rodriguez, Tyler's teacher, stopped by their table. You must have worked very hard on this. Mr. Nathan helped me with the science parts, and Mama helped me with the poster, Tyler said proudly. Well, you all did wonderful work. Mrs. Rodriguez smiled at Nathan and Kendra. It's so nice to see families working together on these projects. As she walked away, Nathan caught Kendra's hand and squeezed it. The word families had sent a warm glow through both of them. Other parents and children filled the gymnasium, setting up displays of solar systems, plant growth experiments, and weather stations. Nathan noticed some of the other parents glancing at him curiously. His expensive clothes stood out in the crowd of working families. Daddy, look. That boy's volcano is so cool. A little girl at the next table pointed at Tyler's project. It is cool, sweetheart, her father agreed, then looked at Nathan with obvious recognition. Excuse me, aren't you Nathan Cross? From Cross Industries. Nathan felt Kendra tense beside him. This was the moment he'd been dreading, when his two worlds would collide. I am, Nathan said simply. I thought so. I've seen your picture in the business section. The man extended his hand eagerly. Jim Patterson. I work in construction. We've actually done some subcontracting work for your company. Nice to meet you, Jim. What brings you to Lincoln Elementary? Do you have family here? Nathan glanced at Kendra and Tyler, who were both watching the interaction carefully. Yes, I do. Before Jim could ask more questions, the judging began. Nathan and Kendra stood back as Tyler confidently explained his project to the 3 judges, demonstrating the volcano eruption with scientific terminology that made Nathan beam with pride. That's my boy, Kendra whispered, and Nathan's heart swelled at hearing her include him in that statement. After the judges moved on, more parents approached Nathan. Word had spread quickly through the small school community that a billionaire CEO was at their science fair. Mr. Cross, I'm Janet Williams, the principal, a warm-looking woman introduced herself. I had no idea Tyler Washington had such distinguished family support. Tyler's an exceptional kid, Nathan said, putting his arm around the boy's shoulders. Any school would be lucky to have him. Indeed. If you don't mind me asking, how did you come to be involved with the Washington family? Nathan felt Kendra stiffen beside him. He knew she was worried about judgment, about people thinking less of her for being with someone so far outside her economic class. They saved my life, Nathan said simply. And I've been grateful ever since. Before Principal Williams could ask for details, Tyler tugged on Nathan's sleeve. Mr. Nathan, they're announcing the winners. The gymnasium quieted as Principal Williams took the microphone. Before we announce our science fair winners, I want to thank all our families for their hard work on these projects. It's clear that a lot of learning happened at home. She announced the third and second place winners, building suspense. Nathan felt Tyler grip his hand tightly. And our first place winner, with an outstanding demonstration of chemical reactions and volcanic science, Tyler Washington. The gymnasium erupted in applause. Tyler's face lit up with pure joy as he looked between Nathan and Kendra. We won. We actually won. You won, buddy, Nathan corrected gently. This was all your hard work. But Tyler shook his head firmly. We won. We're a team. As Tyler received his blue ribbon, Nathan felt tears prick his eyes. This little boy had not only accepted him into his life but was claiming him as family in front of everyone. After the ceremony, as they packed up Tyler's project, Nathan overheard two mothers talking nearby. Can you believe Nathan Cross is dating that security guard? I heard she works multiple jobs just to make ends meet. What could he possibly see in her? Nathan felt anger rise in his chest, but before he could respond, Kendra touched his arm. Let it go, she said quietly. Their opinions don't matter. But, Nathan. Her voice was firm but gentle. I've dealt with judgment my whole life. What matters is what we know about each other, not what strangers think. Nathan looked at this incredible woman who handled gossip and judgment with such grace, and fell in love with her all over again. You're amazing, he told her. Mama. Mr. Nathan. Look at my ribbon. Tyler ran over, still glowing with excitement. I'm so proud of you, baby. Kendra hugged him tight. Can we celebrate? Can we get ice cream? Of course we can celebrate, Nathan said. This calls for the biggest ice cream sundaes they make. As they walked out of the school together, Tyler skipping between them with his ribbon, Nathan realized that everyone now knew about his relationship with Kendra. There would be newspaper articles, gossip, maybe even criticism from his business associates. He didn't care about any of it. Nathan. Kendra's voice was soft as they waited for the bus. Yeah. Thank you for being proud of us today. I know it wasn't easy having people stare and whisper. Kendra, look at me. When she met his eyes, Nathan continued, I have never been prouder of anything in my life than I was watching Tyler explain that volcano project. And I have never been more honored than when he called us a team. Even though people were talking? Especially because people were talking. Let them see that Nathan Cross chooses love over status, family over reputation. He took her hand as their bus approached. Let them see that I'm the luckiest man in the world. That evening, as they celebrated Tyler's victory with ice cream sundaes at the local diner, Nathan made a mental note to call his assistant in the morning. It was time to make some changes at Cross Industries, changes that would allow him to spend more time with his new family and less time in boardrooms. Because Tyler was right, they were a team now. And Nathan intended to be the best teammate they'd ever had. The next morning, Nathan woke to find Kendra already dressed in her diner uniform, quietly packing her lunch in the kitchen. The happiness from Tyler's science fair victory still glowed on her face, but Nathan could see the exhaustion around her eyes. Good morning, beautiful, he said softly, not wanting to wake Tyler. Morning. I'm sorry if I woke you. I was trying to be quiet. You didn't wake me. Nathan moved to the coffee maker, starting their morning routine. I've been thinking. About what? About yesterday. About us. About what comes next. Kendra paused in her lunch packing, tension creeping into her shoulders. What do you mean? I mean it's time to make some changes. Nathan turned to face her fully. Real changes that will make our lives better. Nathan, we talked about this. I can't just accept. Hear me out, please. Nathan held up his hand gently. Cross Industries has been looking for a new director of community outreach. Someone who understands what regular families need, someone who can connect with people from all walks of life. Kendra's eyes widened. Nathan, what are you saying? I'm saying the job is yours if you want it. Full benefits, great salary, and you'd be working directly with schools and community organizations to improve people's lives. I don't have the experience for something like that. I work security and serve tables. You have something better than experience, you have heart. You understand struggle because you've lived it. You care about people because that's who you are. Nathan moved closer to her. Kendra, you've been doing community outreach your whole life. You just weren't getting paid for it. Kendra sank into one of the kitchen chairs, overwhelmed. This is too much. It's too good to be true. It's not charity if that's what you're worried about. You'd be earning every penny. This job requires someone who can bridge the gap between corporate resources and community needs. I can't think of anyone more qualified. But people will say I only got the job because I'm dating you. Let them say it. You'll prove them wrong within the first week. Nathan knelt beside her chair. Kendra, you have a gift for helping people. This job would let you use that gift to help hundreds of families, maybe thousands. What about my other jobs? You'd quit them. This one job pays more than all 3 of your current jobs combined, plus health insurance, vacation time, and a retirement plan. Tears filled Kendra's eyes. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Say you'll let me help you build the life you deserve. Mama? Mr. Nathan? Tyler appeared in the doorway, rubbing sleep from his eyes. Why are you crying, Mama? Kendra wiped her eyes and smiled. Happy tears, baby. Mr. Nathan just offered me a really good job. A job doing what? Helping families like ours, Nathan explained. Making sure kids have what they need to succeed in school and that their parents can provide for them. Tyler's face brightened. That sounds perfect for you, Mama. You're already good at helping people. See? Nathan grinned. Tyler agrees. 2 against 1. Kendra laughed through her tears. When would I start? Whenever you're ready. We can start with part-time while you finish out your commitments at your other jobs, then transition to full-time. And you're sure this isn't just because I love you? Of course it's partly because I love you. But it's mostly because you're exactly what this position needs. Nathan took her hands. Kendra, I've seen you comfort Tyler when he's scared, help Mrs. Patterson with her groceries, make that new family down the hall feel welcome. You have a natural ability to make people feel seen and valued. That's true, Tyler piped up. Mama makes everyone feel better. Kendra looked between Nathan and Tyler, then around the small kitchen where she'd struggled for so long to make ends meet. What if I mess it up? You won't. But even if you make mistakes, we'll figure it out together. Nathan squeezed her hands. I believe in you, Kendra. It's time you believed in yourself. After a long moment, Kendra nodded slowly. Okay. Yes. I'll take the job. Tyler cheered and threw his arms around his mother. This is the best news ever. Nathan felt a weight lift from his shoulders that he hadn't even realized he'd been carrying. Seeing Kendra work multiple jobs, watching her count every penny, knowing she was exhausting herself just to survive it had been breaking his heart. There's one more thing, Nathan said as they celebrated over breakfast. More? Kendra looked nervous again. It's about Tyler's school. I did some research and there are some excellent private schools in the area with programs for gifted students. Nathan, I can't afford. The job comes with education benefits. Full tuition for employee children. Nathan watched Tyler's eyes light up with curiosity. Schools with advanced science programs, computer labs, and small class sizes. Really? Tyler bounced in his seat. Schools with better science stuff? Much better science stuff. But only if your mom thinks it's a good idea. Kendra bit her lip, considering. Can we visit some of these schools? See what they're like. Of course. We can start looking this weekend. This is really happening, isn't it? Kendra said softly. Our lives are really going to change. They're going to get better, Nathan promised. So much better. That evening, after Kendra had called in to quit her evening security job and Tyler was asleep, she and Nathan sat on the couch planning their future. I keep thinking I'm going to wake up and this will all be a dream, Kendra admitted. It's not a dream. It's real and you deserve all of it. Nathan pulled her closer. You know what the best part is? What? Now you'll have time. Time to spend with Tyler, time to pursue your own interests, time for us. Nathan kissed her forehead. Time to just be happy instead of constantly worrying about survival. I don't even remember what that feels like. You're going to love it. Kendra curled up against Nathan's side, feeling safe and cherished in a way she'd never experienced before. Thank you for seeing something in me that I couldn't see in myself. Thank you for saving me that night in the rain. You gave me everything I never knew I was missing. What are we going to do about your penthouse? You can't keep sleeping on my couch forever. Nathan was quiet for a moment. Actually, I've been thinking about that too. What would you think about finding a place together? Somewhere with enough room for all of us, maybe a yard for Tyler to play in? You want to move in together officially? I want to build a life with you and Tyler. A real life in a home that belongs to all of us. Kendra's heart raced with excitement and nervousness. That's a big step. The best steps usually are. As they began planning their future together, discussing neighborhoods, schools, and dreams they'd never dared voice before, Nathan realized that losing his wallet in that taxi had been the greatest stroke of luck in his life. Because it had led him here, to this woman and this little boy who had shown him what real wealth looked like. And he intended to spend the rest of his life making sure they never doubted how precious they were to him. 3 months later, Nathan stood in the doorway of Cross Industries' newly renovated community outreach office, watching Kendra lead a meeting with local school principals. Her confidence had grown remarkably since starting the job, and she was already making a real difference in the community. So our goal is to identify students who need additional support, whether that's tutoring, supplies, or just someone to believe in them, Kendra was saying. Every child deserves the chance to succeed, regardless of their family's financial situation. Nathan felt his chest swell with pride. She was a natural leader, exactly as he'd known she would be. Mr. Cross. His assistant appeared beside him. Your 3 o'clock appointment is here. Tell them I'll be right there, Nathan said, reluctant to leave. Watching Kendra work never got old. As he turned to go, Kendra caught his eye and smiled, the same warm, genuine smile that had captured his heart that rainy night. Even surrounded by her professional responsibilities, she still had time to acknowledge him, to make him feel seen and valued. That evening, Nathan arrived at their new house, a beautiful colonial in a family-friendly neighborhood with good schools and a big backyard, to find Tyler and Kendra working in the garden they'd planted together. Mr. Nathan. Look. Tyler ran over, dirt-covered and grinning. Our tomatoes are growing. Those are some impressive tomatoes, buddy. Nathan hugged Tyler, not caring about getting his expensive suit dirty. How was school today? Amazing. Mrs. Chin taught us about DNA, and I already knew some of it because of the science books you got me. Tyler's enthusiasm was infectious. And guess what? I made a new friend named Josh, and he wants to come over for a playdate. That's wonderful. Your mom and I will set that up. Nathan looked over at Kendra, who was standing now, brushing soil from her hands. Even in gardening clothes with dirt under her fingernails, she was the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen. How was your meeting today? He asked, moving to give her a kiss. Hello. Really good. We're going to be able to provide after-school tutoring programs at 5 schools next semester. Kendra's eyes sparkled with excitement. And the best part? We're hiring recent college graduates as tutors, so we're creating jobs and helping kids at the same time. That's my brilliant girlfriend, Nathan said proudly. Our brilliant mama, Tyler corrected, making all 3 adults laugh. They developed wonderful evening routines in their new home. Tyler would finish his homework with Nathan's help while Kendra cooked dinner, then they'd all eat together at the big kitchen table, sharing stories about their days. After Tyler's bath and bedtime story, Nathan and Kendra would sit together on the porch swing, planning projects for the house and dreams for their future. Tonight was no different, except for the small velvet box hidden in Nathan's jacket pocket. I love our life, Kendra said softly as they swayed on the swing, listening to the crickets and watching fireflies blink in their garden. So do I. Nathan's heart was pounding, but his voice remained steady. Can I tell you something? Always. A year ago, I thought I had everything a person could want. Success, money, respect. But I was miserable and didn't even realize it. Nathan turned to face her fully. You and Tyler didn't just save me that night in the rain. You saved me from a life that looked perfect from the outside but was empty inside. Nathan. Kendra's voice was soft with emotion. You showed me what real success looks like. It's Tyler's laugh when he masters a new concept. It's watching you transform families' lives through your work. It's coming home every day to people who love me not for what I have, but for who I am. Nathan slipped off the swing and dropped to one knee, pulling out the ring box. Kendra's hands flew to her mouth, tears already streaming down her cheeks. Kendra Washington, you are the strongest, kindest, most beautiful person I've ever known. You've made me a better man, and I want to spend the rest of my life trying to deserve you. Nathan opened the box to reveal a stunning but elegant ring, beautiful without being ostentatious. Will you marry me? Yes, Kendra whispered, then louder, yes. Of course yes. Nathan slipped the ring onto her finger with shaking hands, then stood to kiss her as she threw her arms around his neck. I love you so much, she whispered against his lips. I love you too. Both of you. Always. What about me? Tyler's sleepy voice came from the front door where he stood in his pajamas, rubbing his eyes. Tyler. You're supposed to be asleep, Kendra laughed through her tears. I heard talking and wanted to see what was happening. Tyler looked between the adults with curiosity. Why is everyone crying? Nathan knelt down to Tyler's level. Tyler, how would you feel about me officially becoming your dad? Tyler's face lit up like Christmas morning. Really? You want to be my dad? More than anything in the world. Tyler launched himself into Nathan's arms. Yes. I want you to be my dad. As Nathan held Tyler while Kendra wrapped her arms around both of them, he felt a completeness he'd never imagined possible. So we're really going to be a family? Tyler asked. Like official? We've been a family for a while now, buddy. We're just going to make it legal, Nathan explained. Can I call you Dad now? Nathan's throat tightened with emotion. I would be honored if you called me Dad. This is the best day ever. Tyler declared. Wait until I tell Josh at school. I'm getting a dad and my mom's getting married. They spent the next hour on the porch, making plans for their wedding and talking about their future as an official family. Tyler fell asleep between them on the swing, and Nathan carried him up to his room, the room that would soon legally be his son's room. He's wanted a father for so long, Kendra said softly as they tucked Tyler into bed. And I've wanted a son without even knowing it. As they prepared for bed themselves, Kendra kept looking at her ring in wonder. I can't believe this is really happening. Believe it? We're going to have the wedding of your dreams, and then we're going to spend the next 50 years being disgustingly happy together. Only 50 years? Nathan grinned. You're right. Forever sounds better. That night, as they fell asleep in each other's arms, Nathan reflected on the journey that had brought them here. A lost wallet, a rainy night, and the kindness of a stranger had completely transformed his life. Tomorrow he would start the adoption paperwork for Tyler, and they would begin planning their wedding. Their friends and community, the real community they'd built together, would celebrate with them. And Nathan Cross, who had once measured his worth in dollars and business deals, now measured it in bedtime stories read, homework helped with, and the love of a woman who had shown him what really mattered in life. He had never been richer. 6 months later, on a perfect spring morning, Nathan stood at the altar of the small community church where Kendra had been a member since moving to the neighborhood. Sunlight streamed through stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns across the pews filled with their closest friends and the community that had embraced their love story. Nathan adjusted his tie nervously, scanning the crowd. Mrs. Patterson sat in the front row, beaming with pride. Tyler's teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, was there, along with several families from the school. Many of Kendra's co-workers from Cross Industries had come, as well as neighbors from their street who had watched their relationship bloom. You ready for this? James, Nathan's best man and longtime friend, asked quietly. I've never been more ready for anything in my life, Nathan replied, his voice steady despite his racing heart. The music began, and Tyler appeared at the back of the church in his little tuxedo, carrying the rings on a small pillow. He walked down the aisle with solemn concentration, his face serious with the importance of his job. When he reached Nathan, he whispered loudly enough for the front rows to hear, I didn't drop them, Dad. Nathan grinned and whispered back, perfect job, son. Then the wedding march played and Nathan's breath caught in his throat. Kendra appeared at the back of the church, radiant in a simple but elegant white dress. She had chosen to walk herself down the aisle, a symbol of the independence and strength that had drawn Nathan to her from the beginning. As she moved toward him, Nathan saw their whole journey reflected in her smile. The scared, soaked woman who had helped a stranger in the rain had become this confident, glowing bride who was choosing to build a life with him. When she reached the altar, Nathan took her hands and they turned to face Pastor Williams, who had known Kendra since she was a teenager. Dearly beloved, Pastor Williams began, we gather today not just to witness a wedding, but to celebrate a love story that has touched all our hearts. Nathan and Kendra's journey began with an act of kindness on a stormy night, and it has grown into something beautiful, a partnership built on love, respect, and shared commitment to making the world better. Nathan barely heard the traditional words of the ceremony. He was lost in Kendra's eyes, thinking about all the mornings they'd shared over coffee, all the evenings they'd spent helping Tyler with homework, all the quiet moments when she'd shown him what real love looked like. Nathan and Kendra have written their own vows, Pastor Williams announced. Nathan, would you like to go first? Nathan pulled out a folded piece of paper, his hands shaking slightly. Kendra, when I was lost in the storm that night, you didn't just give me shelter from the rain. You gave me shelter from a life that looked successful but felt empty. His voice grew stronger as he continued. You taught me that real wealth isn't in bank accounts, it's in Tyler's laughter, in your smile at the end of a long day, in the way you make everyone around you feel valued and loved. He paused, looking at Tyler, who was watching with rapt attention. You gave me not just a partner but a son. You created a family where there was only loneliness before. Kendra, I promise to love you and Tyler with everything I have, to support your dreams, to be your safe harbor in any storm, and to never take for granted the incredible gift of being part of your lives. Kendra was crying now, as were several people in the congregation. She wiped her eyes and unfolded her own piece of paper. Nathan, my grandmother used to tell me that angels sometimes come disguised as ordinary people. I thought you were just a man who needed help, but you turned out to be the answer to prayers I didn't even know I was praying. Her voice was steady despite her tears. You didn't just fall in love with me, you fell in love with my whole life, including my son and my struggles. You saw beauty where I only saw hardship. You gave us not just financial security, but something far more precious. You gave us a father and husband who loves us unconditionally. She looked at Tyler, who was beaming. You've shown Tyler what it means to be a good man, and you've shown me what it means to be truly cherished. Nathan, I promise to love you through whatever storms life brings, to support your dreams as you've supported mine, and to never stop being grateful for the night you got locked out in the rain. There wasn't a dry eye in the church as they exchanged rings. When Pastor Williams pronounced them husband and wife, Tyler cheered loudly, making the whole congregation laugh. You may kiss your bride, Pastor Williams said with a smile. Nathan cupped Kendra's face in his hands and kissed her softly, sealing their promise to love each other forever. The congregation erupted in applause and cheers. Ladies and gentlemen, Pastor Williams announced, I present to you Mr. and Mrs. Cross and their son Tyler. Tyler jumped between his parents, throwing his arms around both of them. We did it. We're really a family now. The reception was held in the church fellowship hall, decorated simply but beautifully with flowers from their own garden. Instead of an expensive catered affair, it was a potluck celebration where everyone in their community contributed something special. Mrs. Patterson had made her famous peach cobbler. Tyler's teacher brought a beautiful cake she'd decorated herself. Neighbors contributed everything from fried chicken to homemade rolls. It was exactly the kind of celebration Kendra had dreamed of, surrounded by people who truly cared about them. This is perfect, Kendra whispered to Nathan as they danced their first dance to an old jazz song playing from a simple sound system. It's not fancy, Nathan said, spinning her gently. It's not supposed to be fancy. It's supposed to be us. Nathan looked around at their reception, Tyler racing around with other children, elderly neighbors sharing stories and laughter, friends from all walks of life celebrating together. You're right. This is exactly us. No regrets about not having a big society wedding? The only thing I regret is waiting so long to propose. After their dance, Nathan was surprised when Tyler tugged on his jacket. Dad, can I dance with Mama now? Of course, buddy. Nathan lifted Tyler up so he could dance with Kendra, and the sight of his wife and son swaying together made his heart overflow with love. Later, as the evening wound down and they were cleaning up, Nathan overheard a conversation between two of their elderly neighbors. Never seen a couple so happy, Mrs. Johnson was saying to Mrs. Patterson. That's because they went through hard times before they found each other, Mrs. Patterson replied wisely. Makes you appreciate the good times more. And that boy adores his new daddy. You can see it in his eyes. Nathan's good for both of them. He doesn't just provide for them, he truly loves them. Nathan felt a hand on his arm and turned to find Kendra beside him, also having overheard. They're right, you know, she said softly. About all of it. I'm the lucky one in this deal, Nathan replied, pulling her close. We're all lucky. The next morning they woke up in their own bed as a married couple. Tyler had crawled in with them sometime during the night, and Nathan found himself sandwiched between his new wife and son, both still sleeping peacefully. For a moment he just lay there, overwhelmed with gratitude. A year and a half ago he'd been a lonely billionaire with everything money could buy but nothing that truly mattered. Now he was a husband and father, surrounded by people who loved him for who he was, not what he had. Good morning, Mr. Cross, Kendra murmured sleepily, her wedding ring catching the morning light. Good morning, Mrs. Cross, he replied, loving the sound of her new name. Tyler stirred and opened his eyes. Are we really married now? Like forever? Forever and always, Nathan confirmed. Good, Tyler said with satisfaction, snuggling closer. I like our family. So do I, son. So do I. As they lay there in the golden morning light, making plans for their honeymoon, A simple week at a lake cabin where Tyler could fish and they could all just be together. Nathan reflected on how completely his definition of success had changed. Success wasn't about corner offices or stock prices anymore. It was about Tyler running to greet him when he came home from work. It was about Kendra's satisfied smile when one of her programs helped a struggling family. It was about the three of them working in their garden on Saturday mornings, getting dirty and laughing together. Success was love, pure and simple. And by that measure, Nathan Cross was the most successful man alive. 1 year after their wedding, Nathan stood in the courthouse, his heart pounding with anticipation. Today was the day Tyler's adoption would be finalized, making their family legally complete in every way that mattered. "Are you nervous?" Kendra asked, adjusting Tyler's tie. He looked grown up in his little suit, but his excitement was purely that of an 8-year-old about to get everything he'd ever wanted. "A little," Nathan admitted. "Good nervous though." Tyler bounced on his toes. "When the judge signs the papers, you'll really be my dad. Like on my birth certificate and everything?" "That's right, buddy. Your name will officially be Tyler Cross and I'll officially be your father. I can't wait to tell everyone at school. Josh is going to be so excited. He said adoption papers are even cooler than regular birth certificates because it means your parents chose you special." Nathan's throat tightened with emotion. Josh is absolutely right. Their lawyer, a kind woman named Sarah Chin, approached with a warm smile. "The judge is ready for us. Are you all set?" As they entered the courtroom, Nathan was surprised to see several familiar faces in the gallery. Mrs. Patterson was there, along with Tyler's teacher and even some of their neighbors. Word had spread through their close-knit community, and people had come to witness this special moment. Judge Martinez, a distinguished older man with kind eyes, smiled at them from the bench. "Good morning. We're here today for the adoption petition of Nathan Cross regarding Tyler Washington. This is always one of my favorite types of hearings." He reviewed the paperwork efficiently, asking a few routine questions about Nathan's background and intentions. Then he turned his attention to Tyler. "Tyler, do you understand what's happening today?" "Yes, sir." Tyler stood up straighter. "Mr. Nathan, I mean my dad is adopting me so we can be a real family forever. And how do you feel about that?" Tyler's face lit up with pure joy. "It's the best thing ever. He helps me with my homework and teaches me science and takes me fishing. He loves me and Mama so much and we love him too." Judge Martinez smiled. "That sounds pretty wonderful. Nathan, do you understand the responsibilities and commitments you're taking on today?" Nathan stood, his voice clear and strong. "Yes, Your Honor. I understand that I'm committing to love, protect, and provide for Tyler for the rest of my life. I understand that I'm accepting all the responsibilities and privileges of being his father, in every sense of the word. And you do this willingly and joyfully?" "More willingly and joyfully than I've ever done anything, Your Honor." "Kendra, as Tyler's mother, you consent to this adoption?" "Absolutely, Your Honor. Nathan has been Tyler's father in every way that matters since the day we met. This just makes it official." Judge Martinez nodded, then picked up his pen. "Then by the power vested in me by the state, I hereby grant the petition for adoption. Tyler Washington is now Tyler Cross, and Nathan Cross is his legal father in all respects." The courtroom erupted in quiet applause and happy tears. Tyler launched himself into Nathan's arms, and Nathan lifted him up, holding him tight as Kendra wrapped her arms around both of them. "I'm really your son now," Tyler whispered into Nathan's ear. "You've been my son since the first night I met you," Nathan whispered back. "This just makes it official." After they signed all the final paperwork and received Tyler's new birth certificate, the small group headed to their favorite restaurant for a celebration lunch. Tyler couldn't stop staring at his new birth certificate, tracing his finger over his new name. "Tyler Cross," he read aloud for the 10th time. "That sounds so good." "It sounds perfect," Nathan agreed. Mrs. Patterson raised her glass of lemonade. "A toast to the Cross family, proof that families aren't just born, they're built with love." "Hear, hear," everyone responded, and Tyler giggled as he clinked his juice box with all the adult glasses. That evening, as they tucked Tyler into bed, he had one more question. "Dad, now that you're officially my dad, does that mean you'll never leave us?" Nathan sat on the edge of Tyler's bed, his heart full. "Tyler, I made promises to you and your mom today. I promise to be your father forever, no matter what. That means I'll be here for every birthday, every school play, every time you need help with homework, and every time you just need a hug. What about when I grow up and get married someday? I'll be there to walk you down the aisle if you want me to." Tyler grinned. "What if I become a scientist and discover something really cool?" I'll be in the front row, cheering louder than anyone. What about when I'm old like you? Nathan laughed. Hey, I'm not that old. But yes, even when you're old and gray, I'll still be your dad and you'll still be my son. Good, Tyler said with satisfaction. I love you, Dad. I love you too, son. Sweet dreams. Later that night, Nathan and Kendra sat on their porch swing, watching the stars and reflecting on their journey. Can you believe how much our lives have changed? Kendra asked, curled up against Nathan's side. Sometimes I have to pinch myself to make sure it's all real. What's the best part for you? Nathan thought for a moment. The ordinary moments. Like this morning when Tyler was brushing his teeth and asked me if I thought aliens brush their teeth too. Or when you're cooking dinner and humming that song you love. Or when we're all watching a movie together and Tyler falls asleep between us. Those are my favorite moments too. A few years ago, I would have said the best parts of life were closing big deals or seeing profit reports. Now I know the best parts are Tyler's laugh, your smile, and the feeling of coming home to people who love me. Kendra lifted her head to look at him. Do you ever miss your old life? The excitement, the power? Never. Not even for a second. Nathan's voice was absolutely certain. Kendra, that night I got locked out in the rain was the luckiest night of my life. Not because I lost my wallet or got soaked to the skin, but because it led me to you. And to think I almost walked past you. But you didn't. You stopped, you helped, you opened your home to a stranger. You saved me in every way a person can be saved. We saved each other, Kendra said softly. As they rocked gently on their swing, Nathan thought about the letter he'd received that morning. Cross Industries had reported record profits for the quarter, largely due to their new community outreach programs that Kendra had designed and implemented. The company was thriving under his more balanced leadership style, and he was happier and more productive than he'd ever been. But more importantly, Tyler was excelling in his new school, already talking about becoming a scientist or maybe a teacher like his mom had always dreamed of being. Kendra had been accepted into a graduate program to get her teaching degree, which she would complete while continuing her work with the community programs. Their life wasn't perfect, no life ever was, but it was real and full of love and purpose. Nathan. Kendra's voice was soft in the darkness. Thank you for getting locked out that night. Nathan chuckled, tightening his arms around his wife. Thank you for not leaving me standing there in the rain. I love our story. I love our story too. And I love that we're still writing it together. As the stars wheeled overhead and the crickets sang in their garden, Nathan Cross, husband, father, and the luckiest man alive, held his wife close and thought about all the chapters yet to come in their beautiful life together. From a chance encounter on a stormy night to a love that would last a lifetime, theirs was a story of kindness rewarded, dreams fulfilled, and the transformative power of opening your heart to unexpected possibilities. And they lived, very simply and very happily, ever after. Dear amazing viewers, thank you so much for joining Nathan, Kendra, and Tyler on their journey from that fateful rainy night to their beautiful forever family. Stories like these remind us that sometimes the most unexpected encounters can lead to the greatest blessings. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. What moment in the story touched your heart the most? Was it when Kendra first helped Nathan without knowing who he was? Tyler calling Nathan Dad for the first time? Or perhaps the wedding scene where their whole community celebrated their love? Have you ever experienced or witnessed a moment of kindness that completely changed someone's life? Sometimes the smallest gestures can have the biggest impact, just like Kendra's decision to help a stranger in the rain. What do you think made their relationship work so beautifully? Was it Nathan's genuine appreciation for Kendra's strength and independence? Kendra's ability to see Nathan's heart beneath his wealth? Or how they both put Tyler's happiness at the center of their growing family? Please share your thoughts. Your comments help inspire more heartwarming stories like this one. Red Heart.